Parenting doesn't ruin marriages, but exhaustion does. Most couples don't fall out of love after kids. They fall into survival mode. And if your marriage feels more like logistics than intimacy and you wonder where you went as a couple, this episode is for you. Today we're talking about how to keep marriage alive while raising children without guilt, unrealistic expectations, and pretending that this season isn't hard. If you've ever found yourself thinking, why do we keep having the same argument? Or why does connection feel harder than it used to? You're not alone. Welcome to Marriage, Intimacy and Healing with Andrew and Lara.
We're a husband and wife team, blending science-based coaching and clinical nervous system insight to help couples understand what's really happening underneath conflict, distance, and emotional shutdown.
I'm Lara. I'm an ICF PCC-certified coach and educator.
And I'm Andrew, a licensed physical therapist specializing in body, mind, heart integration with extensive experience helping high-performing individuals navigate stress, communication, and emotional regulation.
Together, we help you recognize the patterns that pull you apart and offer practical, grounded shifts that bring you back into connection. Let's dive into today's episode. And you know what? You might actually hear some children screaming during this episode because we just had one go out and we thought we were going to have some time alone, and then the other one came home with friends.
It just keeps getting better.
So we're walking this right now, and just so you know, we are giving you an episode from the middle of being in this season, and we've got one in 6th grade and one in 5th grade. We live in America as Australians, and we don't have any family support or help. So I would say, for their entire life, have really done it without any cousins, families, minus a couple of things here and there.
They were born in London, so we had the hardest 2 years probably when they were first born. Well, just lack of sleep depletion.
14 months apart kids.
Yeah, 14 months apart.
With no grandmas or granddads.
And we did those hardest 2 years without
just
them.
Us two.
Our choice. We were in England, but
it's definitely been like that. But the reality is and I remember this, is when I first had children, and you go through just the two of us into a massive identity shift, because suddenly you're a parent and life is so different. So if you're listening and you don't have kids, listen, because honestly, it's sort of the way that people get married. The majority of us tend to want to have children, and it does shift the way that you are able to function in the home. And they don't ruin marriage, but exhaustion is real. And that exhaustion's actually what creates a lot of the divorce. Now, most of the friends that we have that have gone through divorce have gone through it while their children are 0 to, they're little. Most of them have little kids.
Right.
Under the youngest, probably around under 6, but definitely under 10. So it's in that first chunk of time, multiple children, that we are seeing the most divorce happen. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
It's not, because your emotional bandwidth shrinks during this season. You know this. Connection becomes optional. Not that that's right, but then it disappears because you're just like focused on the kids. What about you?
Well, I always love to talk about the body. You're so good at knowing all the different intricacies and in the mind side of things. So it's just the depletion. Your body's going to feel depleted, lack of sleep, whether it's just the load, and whether it's just feeling that you don't have all the answers. And look, here, long and short is we don't, but we just, as humans, need to navigate together to build a good life and to do the best we can with what we have, right?
Yeah.
I hear a lot of younger people going towards marriage, and they're younger in their professional life, and plenty have recently said to me, like, I don't want kids, it's going to change my life, ruin my life, that sort of thing. And I'm not quick to give them quick advice, but I'm just interested to hear them say that. And I think they're really worried about it just spoiling or ruining or changing a lot when the kids themselves just bring more adventure and joy into the whole thing. Exhaustion is the killer. Exhaustion is the thing that drains and that has the big effect on us. It's how we can manage this. And we can. So our body will be in that hyperdrive. So it's a tiring thing. It's a chronic tiredness thing, and that can be both from if you're through the sleep issue and the lack of sleep time in the young kids' lives, you can still be in this, constantly drained because you've got more mouths to feed, you've got more pressure on yourselves, on both of you. There's more dynamics around all of that. You can feel the weight of, our connection isn't the same as what it was, and it can feel overwhelming to how am I going to get there? So that in itself can just be depleting and to a draining place. And so that fatigue, so just quickly checking on those, think of the core emotions of like, am I angry? I'm angry at myself because I'm not X, Y, Z, or I'm sad about this. And if we never just even acknowledge it, that's a really powerful thing, would you say? Yeah. Acknowledging emotions that you're feeling. It's so quick and so easy. And so our body, mind, heart shift gives you a space to do that.
You can get that at andrewandlara.com, a free download. Yeah.
And just, print it out. Is there for as a tool for you. But if you can clock that and just say, oh, that's what I'm feeling. It's the start. It's not the healing, of course, but it's the start. And you'll never go there unless you see, that's what's going on for me.
Yeah, that's so true. And so what happens is that it's not a character flaw if you're listening. You haven't done something wrong. It's a capacity issue. Suddenly your capacity, I think, has to change. And there is a grief, as you were saying, there is a grief because what happens is men, the woman is like the one that's often doing the breastfeeding or a lot of that kind of stuff like that. But the husband is grieving the role that the wife was when he first got married quite often, because he's now coming home not to like the same energy and the capacity because she's depleted, and he's coming into a house that he doesn't know what's going to happen quite often. And quite often the woman, and it's not always this way, I recognize these roles can be reversed, but quite frequently the woman is grieving the life that she had. I certainly tried hard with my first child to continue the life that I had. It was way harder though. And by the time I had the second child, I couldn't anymore. I physically could not. And there was grief in that change in my life, change in that identity that I had as a career girl. And I think ever since then, there's a part of me that's been fighting to get back to that place. But if you asked either of us, would we change this? We would both say no, hands down. We would choose our children.
Absolutely.
It's exhausting. Your capacity changes, but we would never change it. We wouldn't. Kids definitely demand output from you, and marriage requires presence. And that's where we get into the tension that can ultimately lead to so many divorces. And presence is hardest when you're physically depleted, when you're at capacity, when you can't take any more stimulus. But this thing where you say, we'll come back to us later, should not enter your mind. You cannot come back to us later. Later doesn't arrive without intention. You have to put things that what naturally happened before children now have to be done with intention. And a lot of us, me included, will fight that because there's a part of us that say romance isn't like that. I shouldn't have to be intentional. It should just happen, because it did at the start. And our nervous system wants to constantly return to that happy, beautiful, falling in love place. And it's hard to allow life to evolve and shift and not feel guilty or shame about it. But that is just normal reality human behavior. So later doesn't arrive without intention.
Our bodies are made to want passion, to want love, to want
ease.
Ease. It wants to eat beautiful things, wonderful things, taste good things. It's wanting to
pleasure.
Pleasure, laughter. We want all these things. So a really good thing to check on is, does big emotions, does the place where I'm depleted and I'm anguish and I'm longing for what it was, and thank you for sharing, but that place you're at where you lost, and the grievance of losing these things, we need to feel them, and they're hard, right? But they're important, and they're not evil. So we need to clock them and almost let them happen and experience them together, so that can push us towards, okay, how can we meld this? What time frame? 2 years? Can it be towards, if we didn't feel a grievance about something like that, would we work towards maybe finding the money for a sitter so that you can do something and I can do, so we can shift something in our lives. If we don't have process the grievance of that, then we're just going to stay like a, what do you
survival mode,
guinea pig running around a little circle wheel, just saying like, how do I get out of this wheel, man? How do I stop the cycle?
Yeah.
So
and
it's
from my
important.
experience, that wheel of busyness and capacity, although it changes as the children have not been infants and literally stuck to you through the day, like for me, feeding every 3 hours or whatever it was, that's changed, yes, but I still sometimes feel like I'm on that cycle because I want to be real and honest about it, that what's changed is not the load on me, but my way of approaching the load, my way of parenting, my sense of who I am in the new season. That's definitely always changing and improving. And I think that's the biggest shift that I've gone through is I've changed how I approach parenting and how I approach you and I. And I'm fighting for us all the time. And you're fighting for me, I know, all the time in terms of not conflict in a negative way, but to have intimacy and connection and a good marriage. We're not going to give up on that.
Absolutely not. And that's I love her and I've chosen to build a life together. And so I can either deplete, I can go and hide, I can go and try and deal with it a different way or self-medicate in ways or whatever else, or I can choose to say, okay, this is hard now, let's change something, and enjoy the good and all of it and journey together and pursue that.
That's really important because I think what I've heard from, it's funny what kids say. Like, I love shows like Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Because honestly, these kids are smart, and they're taking it in. But I've had kids come round and they'll say things like, "Oh, my dad just comes home from work and like drinks beer, eats chips and watches sport." And that's kind of the picture they have of their dad. And there is nothing wrong with that switch off and that. But it's funny. I just noticed that because what you were saying before is that so often these pressures of life can cause us to withdraw from connecting with our family and go into numbing behaviors. You find a lot of dirty little habits and secrets in these seasons where people are struggling with constant nervous system overload and going to these things in order to self-soothe. But we really need to be, giving ourselves rest in a healthy way and restoring ourselves in a healthy way. But we want to be leaning into the connection with our children, getting better at parenting, getting better at our communication skills. And when you're switching off through numbing, you're not awake to being able to show up fully for each other. And this season demands it that you show up fully for each other and your family. And where it's broken or where you can improve it, it can get better. We can testify to that. There are new ways of doing things if you allow yourself to have a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset. Totally.
And just your hair looks wonderful in the light right now.
Is that why you're looking at me funny? I was like, Andrew's looking at me funny. Is there something wrong?
I just got these adoring eyes at her.
Thank you.
Good motivation to keep that going, Andrew. Maybe it's not as normal as I think it is.
No, it's fine.
But chronic stress, you're talking about chronically, I'm overloaded. And so chronic stress, we know, it narrows your focus, it narrows your emotional range because you're in fight or flight more. It's not in like always in that, but when you will be more in a sympathetic nervous system place, but more so in the brain. So deeper in the brain, functional MRIs are done on chronic pain sufferers, and the sort of activity that goes on in a sufferer like that is similar with chronic stress. There's a chronic nature of dealing with this input, whether it's stress on your shoulder, stress in your life, pain that you're feeling, there's a impact in your body. And so it's good we can research this to find solutions for people and to let it direct what we're doing as therapists in my field. But just know that things that are happening in your life, kids in your life, lack of sleep, your spouse zipping into different dietary needs, or you're both in a different place, you're having pressures with your job on top of all this. We get it. Things are really hard. And and things that happen into your life there will manifest in your body, and your body will be the score of what's happening. So if you're just like, I want to get back to how it was when I was single, or when we were just married and no kids, because we could go on days it felt like this, and it's probably that your body is just in overload, and then so you don't get the same euphoric feeling after a date or after a relaxing day at home. You don't get it because the kids may be screaming and you're needing to attend to your child, so there's just a different load on your body. And the good thing is that in your kids grow up, there will be an easing, there will be a changing, and there will be a difference in their lives and in your lives, but there's a difference in your body. But like I'm saying, we are hungering for pleasure, for date nights away. We're hungry for great food.
I think we're hungering for return. I think we're hungering to come back to how we started. And I don't think we've acknowledged that we haven't grieved that it's not going to be the same, because having children is different. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's not broken. It's different. I think we're longing our nervous system to return, and we can't get back there. And there's a part of us that needs to grieve and accept and stop biting. It's certainly in my personality. Yeah,
because there's a nature of I want to fight, like I want to keep it going. I want to be on that hamster wheel, and I want to be able to put up with it and deal with it. Yeah. And there's an element like you're in the hamster wheel of like, well, I want to make it work. I want to show that I'm a strong woman, wife. I can deal with this. Whereas we're trying to say that you don't always just have to just deal with it. There's other ways around it. And there's a way that you can actually navigate, grieve well, and then move on and create something better with life rather than always wanting to return to how it was, because it won't be. You'll have a new normal, and that can be actually more beautiful.
I think you have the power to create a different home that you don't even know when you learn how to wield that power. For me, I very much believe in creating the home by how we lead it. And when we're on the same page and we get the tools in place and we improve how we parent and how we connect and all of that, you have the power to create a completely different home life. You don't need to stay on the hamster wheel. It doesn't mean it's not like a load. It doesn't mean you're not at capacity a lot of the time. I have days where I'm like, I can't finish a thought. Like I'm hijacked, Mom, because they say, Mom, I think kids are just wired that way, at least for us and many of the people we know.
They'll say Mom to me when they know that I'm managing them and Mom needs some space or whatever else. They'll say, Mom. I'm like, hey, I'm here. And they're like, I mean, Dad, but I'm saying Mom. I'm like, okay.
They're wired, I think, in the habit of going, even in the car when Dad's there, it'll be Mum, Mum, Mum. And so I get to this mental space of just capacity, and I say to Andrew, I can't finish a thought. Every thought I've tried to have for the last 4 hours has been hijacked and interrupted, and now my nervous system is just like agitated, and that's the reality that we're walking through. And I recognize that, and then I recognize that I sometimes need to pull away and have a little micro breather.
So notice things like, does it feel like in these episodes you'll see me talk about different things that maybe accrue your body's in a place of fight or flight, or it's in a place of dealing with stress and it's dealing with something in your body. It's different for everyone. But is the feeling in your body a bit like you were being coached in a sport field by a coach that was unrelenting, and you were like, how am I ever gonna get a yes or get his approval or get whatever? It might take you to a place when you were growing up like that, and that is a place of overload, and it's a sign to you that my body's in overload. My body's trying to tell me I'm overloaded. And that's, hopefully this is a big message to say, parents, we are overloaded. There's a lot to handle. We can do it. We can do it together, but we need to find tools to manage all of this. And the first thing is realizing we're overloaded. There's a lot to manage, and we need better tools around noticing it and managing it.
Yeah, and you've got a choice when you're overloaded. You can keep numbing and you can function like that for the children's whole childhood, or you can step up, step in and say, I can see that this could change. For every problem, there is a solution. For every repeated behavior, there's a different way to get to a better outcome. And when you have that hunger to see your home change, and let me put that fire in you, because we can testify for every problem, we have met it with a different way of maybe parenting or a different way of connecting. And honestly, you can change your story no matter where you are, whether the kids are teenagers or whatever. We heard this week somebody say, just 4 years before, he had a 10-year-old, his daughter is now 14, and he showed 2 pictures. It's a massive time of change, and he was on his phone all the time. He would not watch a whole family film without being on his phone at the same time, and he realized he was missing so many moments by numbing, because as a numbing behavior, actually, it's a mental break, and it's like an escape.
The
scrolling. It's not that phones are bad, but that kind of thing while you're in a family movie or whatever. And then he said, I'm not going to do it. He started to put his phone aside. I've started doing this too, by the way, and physically separating myself from my phone. And then his daughter said, now it would be weird, Dad, if you were on your phone. So even though he did that for probably the first 10 years of her life, by the time she's 14, she's saying it would be weird, Dad. And he had 4 years of repairing and making a better connection as he learned to stop numbing out through always having his phone and always going to it, bringing it to the dinner table.
Like they constantly see your behavior. And so if it shifts, even though they remember the past, they're constantly evaluating and saying, they don't do that anymore. And it might not fix everything straight away, but they notice it. So...
And we're blaming our kids for being on screens, but they're actually, I mean, it's painful to say, but so often just doing what was modeled to them. So get intentional about changing the story in your home, no matter where you are. It's not too late. Honestly, it's not. Even if they're grown up and they're about to go to college, it's never too late. And you don't need to make a big scene about it or say anything or announce it. You would be amazed what changes purely by changing your behavior. They notice. And if they haven't registered cognitively, their nervous system notice. When you're giving your full attention and you're showing up and they're being seen, it's powerful. Yeah, and they will start, children learn, they'll avoid you if they know that they are not going to be seen when they come to you repeatedly. But if you repeatedly see them, they will learn that too, and their nervous system will learn that too. So what I want to help you see is to redefine success for this season, because it's going to look different. And like I said, we can't go back to before, but I think we need to lower the bar a little bit. Not in a bad way, but there's going to be messy days. There's going to be imperfect days. There's going to be days where you snap. There's going to be days where you don't connect as well as you should. There's going to be days where parenting, you think, oh, I could have done that better. Lower the bar, expect it, and then you won't be disappointed.
But this is good though, because you're saying lower the bar, like the pressure. Like
the expectation on yourself.
It's a pressure on yourself, isn't it? I mean, that's just to say that that feels really powerful, because I think there's a lot of pressure I put on myself about my work, about everything probably. Yeah, you are a high achieving, high performing personality type. I think most people have a bit of that, even someone who's probably not as got a different nature to me. But I think the pressure on ourselves is a huge thing here. It is, because if your standard is up here, and I'm pointing for listeners that are not on video above my head, and you just take it down a notch and go, what if today I expected less of myself? Then you're going to feel better. It's going to help a lot. And I think too, naming what is possible now. What a great question that is what was possible then, but what is possible now in this season, rather than what can I not do and what am I not getting done? It's like a realistic goal. A realistic goal, unrealistic. And when you grieve the version that you had, you're able to step fully into the version that I think a lot of the numbing behavior is unprocessed grief. And a wanting to return and not being able to fully show up to the present because you were fighting for what you had, like it's a loss. It's not always the case, but I think it is a lot. But this works when you lower the bar and you name what's possible now. You're actually creating realistic expectations, and that protects your connection. And I think this week, in the last few weeks, we didn't have millions of moments of connection, but we have so many in the bank
across our marriage now, that we can suffer a few weeks like that without it being detrimental, because we are so focused on connection as a whole. So I think that's important.
Well, another tool that can be really powerful is to regulate first and talk later. So often you don't realize that actually, as you start to talk about something, it can actually feel quite calm and easy at the start. You start talking about something and you realize how much pressure you're putting on yourself, how much comes up when you're starting, and sometimes you just need, okay, let's talk later. Let's just see each other and sort of say, oh, there's a lot going on right now, isn't it? Okay. And that can be a powerful step, so that it doesn't start a chain of, or just the conversation turning into something a lot more of a fight and flight sort of place, right? Yeah. The calming nature, I was saying, it can be very difficult because you're busy and we can't just go into the gym as long as we used to, or something that calms you, you might not be able to get to it. And so just accepting that your body might be craving, oh, I really need that hormone release or that dopamine release or that, whatever release that I get at the gym or whatever. So I would be more intentional to plan what gets me that and that I can manage in this time of life. So it might be a quick workout session at home that gives me something, and I just know that it helps in my body. So I think that calming yourself, calming your body will sometimes need a physical gym, or it needs walk outside or something. So keeping realistic with what you can achieve to get to this regulate first, talk later.
So regulation can look different for different people. Regulation can just be as simple as what soothes you. Is it, like Andrew said, a walk or going to the gym? Is it breathing? Is it putting on a beautiful song when you get home to just switch off from the day? Before you go into criticizing or reactiveness or talking to everybody, and we're not talking about talking later as in connecting later. We're talking about first allowing yourself to self-soothe from what's going on, and then being able to show up for your family more fully because you've regulated yourself. That's what it is. And some people aren't good at self-soothing because they weren't soothed well when they were growing up. So you don't learn how, because children learn how to self-soothe by the way that you soothe them initially, because when they're first born, they don't know how to self-soothe. So we model that, we teach that. So actually you're giving your children a gift when you say, Mama just needs a minute, a mini mumcation to go away and to just soothe, or I'm taking a couple hours because I am overstimulated and I just need a little mum time. And they see me do that, and that's teaching them, hey, I can do that one day too, non-verbally. It's a non-verbal lesson, which, to be fair, most of parenting is non-verbal lessons that you're teaching your children. And we show up with our words and we feel so good and we think that we're teaching our children, and you're teaching them mainly through how you treat yourself, how you treat each other, how you are communicating in the home is teaching far more than any of your words ever will.
That's really good.
So this season doesn't end your marriage, and we really hope that you hear us on that, but it does ask for you to tend your marriage differently, like a garden that once maybe you could spend all day in just frolicking about, holding hands and picking flowers, smelling flowers and laying and looking at the sky. Well, in this season, you're going to be doing pruning, you're going to be doing watering, you're going to be digging some stuff, you're going to be putting some compost in. It's going to be a harder season to get that garden going, but you need to tend to it differently. So ask yourself this week, what kind of connection is possible now? And are we letting that be enough right now? And we don't want you to feel like you're lowering the bar to a place of dissatisfaction, but lowering it enough that you can show up and enjoy this season and stop that kind of ache of wanting to escape it, because it's a precious season. And this is life right now. This is what you're living right now, and you don't want to miss it. It's precious. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. New episodes drop drop every Wednesday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Share this with a friend that you know could do with the support, or maybe your spouse, or maybe a parent that is just in overwhelm right now. We want to help as many marriages and families as we can. And if this work is meaningful to you, head to creativerestorationinternational.com, where you can consider becoming a monthly supporter of marriages and families. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for joining us on today's Marriage, Intimacy and Healing. If this episode supported you, we'd love for you to download our free 3-minute BMH marriage reset at andrewandlara.com. It's the quickest way to shift out of stress and back into connection. And for deeper support and to explore our resources and coaching, you can find everything at andrewandlara.com.
Before you go, following the show or sharing this episode with another couple really helps more people find this kind of support. And we're so grateful when you do.
We're Andrew and Lara, and we'll see you next week.